We had all kinds of fans storming the field, and of course, the biggest one of all, there on Rocky Top. So we got to start there, Shay. SEC turn around and find Tennessee $100,000 for beating Nick Saban and Alabama, but really for storming the field. But, hey, it was worth it, brother, because number one in the coaches poll goes down Tennessee 52, Alabama 49. And, man, Shane, I was thinking about this kind of like you. Watched it with my dad. You were there. And it was just a range of emotions. You know what? I mean, Tennessee jumped up 21-7 early. You thought, my God, is Tennessee about to run Alabama out of the building? I mean, we were legitimately having these conversations. And then next thing you know, Alabama goes on a 27-14 run. And Tennessee comes up just a fingernail short on a Hail Mary right before halftime. And Cousin Shane said, man, I got a bad feeling about this one. Because at that point, you know, we got a joke about Alabama being the Terminator, but that's what they are, man. They just keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. And if you don't put them down, they will make your life miserable. They did it there, Shane. I mean, with 8:38 remaining, Alabama takes the lead. And on the ensuing possession, Tennessee makes a screw-up on the kickoff, pins them deep. That's when Hendon Hooker fumbled. Alabama scoop and score. I mean, you just had to think that Alabama was going to win at that point, didn't you?
Yeah, because it's happened. That's a Tennessee recipe right there. Is okay. Let's give the Vols a little hype, a little love, and then all of a sudden let's rip their hearts out. You know, that's usually what happens when you watch a Volunteer game. And when that scoop and score happened, we were like, I don't know about you, but I was personally just like, well, here we go. You know, we gave them a run. You know, I just it really I don't know, man. It's last night was just a wild time because Tennessee grew up, but Alabama was humanized a little bit too, because for so long when you go against Crimson Tide, you put them up on a pedestal, man. It's like they can't mess up. And if anybody's going to mess up, it's you. You have to have the perfect game to beat them. And for once, we didn't have a perfect game and still beat them, which is unusual. I mean, it just hasn't happened in the last almost 2 decades.
Right. And, you know, we talk about it all the time, Shane. This feels like a new Tennessee, a different Tennessee, not going to be burdened by the past literally 2 decades of defeat. Mm-hmm. This is a different era under Josh Heupel, and they proved it. Because after, you know, suffering what looked like a devastating blow the end of the game, marched 75 yards on 11 plays to tie it up. Alabama has a chance to win the game, Shane. 16 seconds remaining, miss the kick. And again, Tennessee executed down the stretch 2 big throws, one to Ramel Keaton, one to Brew McCoy. 40-yard field goal by Chase McGrath, the most beautiful, ugly kick in Tennessee history. And, man, it was an incredible, incredible scene. Someone, I heard this. I wish I invented this, Shane, but I heard this from someone. Nobody beats the Tennessee Vols 16 years in a row.
Oh, Mike. I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you one thing, brother. Alabama ain't no joke, okay? Yeah. I mean, we could sit here. We could talk about the great game Tennessee Vols had. I don't want to play them again. In fact, I hope we never play them again. I hope they don't make an SEC championship. I hope they don't make a college football playoffs if that's where Tennessee goes, because Crimson Tide, man, Bryce in particular was a damn surgeon out there just dissecting our defense, and it felt like if this game had one more quarter, we were in trouble. If that thing would have went to overtime, I'm not sure we come out with a victory, brother.
Right. You hit on it there. Bryce Young, 35 of 52, put the team on his back. You got to remember, this is a limited, banged-up Bryce. He was getting, I don't want to say rattled, but he was getting hit all game long, kept getting up. I mean, how many times, Shane, did he make Tennessee's defenders look foolish? I mean, they couldn't get him on the ground. You literally had to bring 2 guys unblocked, and he'd completely make the first one miss, and the second one would finally get him. But he did have 455 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And the guy we called out, Jahmyr Gibbs, he was incredible. 103 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. He also had 5 catches, 48 yards. I mean, he lived up to the hype of being that Alvin Kamara 2.0. Alabama 6 of 6 in the red zone, 34 points in that red zone. How about this, Shane? If I told you Alabama was going to win the turnover possession, or the turnover battle, excuse me, and they're going to win the second half 29-24, I mean, I think you would have assumed Alabama won the football game, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean that was the recipe, or at least what we thought was the recipe to win this game, was to come out, make Alabama make mistakes like they've done all season long, but they didn't, other than the penalties. Obviously, I mean, clearly we got to mention the penalties. It was a record for them,
Right?
And that muffed punt, or I don't know what that was. I don't know what the guy was thinking. I feel, you feel bad for kids like that because something triggered in his mind where he thought that was an opportunity to make something, but clearly Nick Saban was not happy. And
I can verify, Shane, you were not feeling bad for him at the moment it happened. Maybe in retrospect.
Yeah, maybe. At the time, I just thought it was all around. It was a fantastic football game, Mike. It was probably one of the best games I've ever watched. I truly believe. I don't want to crown it that because I've seen a lot of great games in my life, and this is so new right now and so fresh, but damn, Mike, I got to put it right up there because of the baggage that we had coming into that one. The fact that you haven't beat Nick Saban in 15 years. I mean, think about that. All these other teams, the University of Louisiana Lafayette has a victory over Alabama and Tennessee doesn't. So, I mean, it was an emotional win, and it was emotional it's still going. It's still going. You get on the Twitters, you get on TikToks. I don't know. I'm algorithmed up, man, and there is nothing that exists other than Tennessee stuff right now. I just saw Morgan Wallen singing, introduced by Peyton Manning. I don't know where that bar was, but we sure the hell weren't invited to it. But that would have been a fun one. But everybody had blast. You saw the president. They were talking about the damn, what is it? The uprights coming down. And he's like, don't worry about it. Tennessee's like, we'll write a check for it. And I was just glad all them got on the field and they were able to drop that thing in the Tennessee River.
Yeah. How about this, Shane? 52 points Tennessee scored. The most Alabama has given up since 1907. I mean, how wild is that? And
golly.
Think about that. Cedric Tillman wasn't even in the game. And here's something I was also talking with my dad after you left, Shane. And this is not to, hell, I said it. If they win this game, Hendon Hooker should be the Heisman favorite. I think he'll win it. He didn't even have. He had a hell of a game. I'm not trying to discredit him. I mean, 5 touchdowns. You can't say he had a bad game. 21 of 30, 385 yards, 5 touchdowns, 56 rushing. But Shane, he did not come close to playing his best game of football.
No.
He had an interception. No. He had that fumble. That's on the quarterback. I don't care even if the running back made a mistake. That's on the quarterback. Scoop and score, Alabama. He had a couple overthrows. One, maybe it was on Ramel Keaton, who may have run the wrong route, but if they connected on that was another easy touchdown in this game. So imagine what Tennessee can do if Hendon Hooker plays as well as we've seen him play. I mean, that's why I think it's legitimate at this point in time to talk playoff and an SEC championship. They got a long way to go. We can't just crown them right now, but hey, there's discussion. They got plenty of votes. 15 votes, I believe it was, Shane, for the number 1 team in the country. I think they've earned that.
Yeah, and it was just like you said, it wasn't his greatest game, and it was great. Don't take that out of context. It was great, but clearly, if you watch this game, there was a few opportunities. Tennessee left some points out there, and just a little dialed up, a little wired, a little too heavy on that back throw. So That's just what I saw. But I want to say this, Mike. It's almost criminal that we're this far into the podcast and we have not mentioned Jalen Hyatt. I mean, here is a kid. Everybody has crowned Tillman coming into the season as one of the greatest receivers in the country. Definitely the best receiver on Tennessee's roster. But I'm telling you, man, this Jalen Hyatt is just a touchdown machine, man. He is just electric, and you know we talked about this, Mike, in the living room there. It's just this kid, you know, he had the drops, the oopsies last year, and we're not seeing that coming into this season. We're seeing a polished receiver that is getting national attention finally.
Well, there was a reason I was holding off, Shane. 6 catches, 207 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jalen Hyatt, SEC Offensive Player of the Week. I mean, there was no other choice for this award. And how about this, Shane? Nick Saban, during his entire time in Alabama, has never allowed a single receiver to have 100 or more receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in a single game. Hell, Hyatt went over 200 and, of course, the 5 touchdowns. So he smashed that record. Credit Tennessee's coaching staff for continuing to get Jalen Hyatt in favorable matchups time and time again. Alabama clearly had no answer for the most dangerous player on the field. And because of that, Shane, I'm giving Josh Heupel SEC Coach of the Week. I mean, this is obviously the biggest win of his tenure there, his entire coaching career. I mean, this is a program changer. I mean, this, like I said, this has got to be, this is not the end. This is the beginning. And all of a sudden, Tennessee's in that playoff conversation. I got one more award. Chase McGrath, Shade, again, the ugliest, most beautiful kick of all time. Special teams player of the week. He missed the PAT. You're sitting here saying, oh, God, that's going to come back to haunt you. It was shades of Will Hoyt there against Florida, missing the PAT, but nailing the game winner. And this Tennessee just doesn't know any other way, do they? They give you their heart attack balls here.
Oh, I thought you were going to save that award for LSU's kick returner there. But I guess if we're going to give it to anybody, we'll give it to Chase.
Sorry, I'm a little bit late. During the week, I don't know that I downplayed it, but I certainly didn't recognize it and felt it and knew it from the moment that I've gotten here. Tonight, obviously, was for our players, but it's for our former players. It's for our donors. It's for our fans. I know how much this has meant to the people of Tennessee and Vol Nation, and so excited that we were coming out with a win for everybody involved. It was a great night, and man, just I think it just speaks to the mentality, the growth, and the progress of the individuals inside of our locker room and collectively as a team. It speaks to our coaching staff, Coach Golish, Coach Banks, Coach Eckler, our coordinators, and every assistant coach, our young coaches too. Just the growth inside of our program from the time that we've gotten here, the ability to be resilient. It wasn't pretty in the second half. There's a lot of things that we didn't do at the level that we're capable of, but our kids continue to reset and go play and believe and ultimately find a way when it takes 0 to be on the right side of the scoreboard. So really proud of them and excited to be able to celebrate with everybody tonight.
People watched Hendon tonight and want to know if he was up to the hype that they had heard. He had career high 5 touchdown passes in the biggest game of his life. What do you think their takeaway of him should be?
Man, guys playing at an unbelievable level. Smart, tough, competitive, decisive, accurate with the football. Short, medium, deep. God, he controlled the game for us and used his feet when he had to. He's the key to the ignition that makes us go, man.
We saw some pictures from the locker room. How was the cigar?
I smoked it slow, but it was dang good. All right, so it was a great night, man. It so much fun. I mean, from former players to our current players, guys that just finished a year ago that are a huge part of this culture and what this program's been able to do this year. But just that trajectory from last year, and man, it was a great night.
Katie? Coach, you talked about doing things differently at the end. On offense, when the ball got down to 30, what was kind of the strategy throwing it 3 straight times? Was it trying to set up for the field goal, or were trying to score a touchdown there?
No, we were trying to move it closer, and we thought that they were blitzing and had a loaded box a lot, and thought we could make plays in the passing game. Jameer had a chance to make a play. That's the best thing that we did all night. So, that's how we thought we could get it closer. When I say that, I don't mean we should have ran it instead of pass it. I didn't mean that at all. They were blitzing and we were in empty, so you got to throw the ball hot, and we didn't do it exactly right.
Coach, the Tennessee offense was moving really fast in the first half, but the defense did respond with 3 consecutive stops. How do you think the defense responded to the no-huddle offense by Tennessee?
Yeah, well, I don't think the no-huddle offense was the issue for us. I think it was covering their receivers and allowing way too many big plays. They created a lot of mismatches. We were trying to play nickel, so they were trying to get their best receivers on our safeties. And, they did it a couple times, and we gave up big plays. We started dropping 8 guys. That helped us in the second quarter. We did the same thing in the third quarter. We played some dime, so we had better matchups against them. So we made some good adjustments in the game, but just gave up too many big plays. Even the second half, they scored on big plays.
In the back.
Hey, we're not jumping off this game just yet, are we? I know we talked a lot of Tennessee and Alabama here, but I do want to stress that this is not the last that you see Alabama. No. This is not the last. I think this team grew up a little bit today, man. I think they needed to get punched in the mouth and lose a game, and it wasn't because of that offense, man. It's the defense was put on display, man. They were just opened up, and we could have done anything we wanted against them. And I when I'm looking at offense and I see Gibbs is probably, I told you, Mike, and I'm in love with this kid. Yeah. He's an absolute athlete. I cannot wait to draft him in my fantasy football leagues. He is a smooth glider. He reminds me a lot of Kamara, man. Mm-hmm. He's just electric. He could slow down. I haven't seen it at the collegiate level in a long time. It's just, he's a dynamic player, and if he could get the catching down, because he did have a few drops, man, this kid is going to be dynamite and maybe a future Pro Bowler. But this Bama team is loaded on the offense side. They just got to straighten up on defense, man. They left too much out there on the field, and if they can correct that, and I guarantee Nick Saban's going to approach that, especially with the penalties. How many penalties they have in this game? 16,
program record.
Yeah. And most of that was on the defensive side of the ball. If they can clean that up and straighten it up, Alabama still can beat anybody in the country. So right. I'm sure the Tide fans, they're not going to lose too much sleep over this one. But, again, a huge victory for those Volunteers.
Right, and they're no longer first place in the West. Ole Miss is, but they still have that Ole Miss game. It's in Oxford. Mm-hmm. They also have to go to Tiger Stadium, LSU. And Mississippi State next week. This is not an easy road. The margin for error is none at this point in time for Alabama, but Shane, of Nick Saban's incredible dynasty there, I believe there's only 2 seasons he went undefeated. So they're no stranger to dropping a game and responding. Right. And just like last season, they lost to A&M, won the SEC, maybe could have won the national championship had they not suffered some injuries. We all know the story, but this was not the end for Alabama. They, like you said, they'll get it corrected. And hell, we gotta remember Bryce Young. As incredible as it is to say, this was not even him at 100%. This is what I was trying to tell people in the pregame. He only had 1 pass of 20 yards down the field. He was clearly he just didn't have the arm strength to accurately push the ball down the field. So imagine when that's coming. He's going to be even more dangerous. This is clearly not the end for Alabama.